The title battle between Mercedes duo Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg has dominated the build-up to the 2014 Formula One season finale in Abu Dhabi this weekend. But the future of two former world champions has momentarily stolen the limelight. Ferrari's Fernando Alonso is to leave the Italian outfit by mutual consent, with Red Bull's Sebastian Vettel signing a 3-year deal to replace him next season. It's a move that has been widely predicted since Vettel announced his departure from Red Bull back in October. But one of the legends of the sport, Jackie Stewart, thinks that there may be a bit of a culture shock in store for the German.
For Sebastian, it's going to be a challenge. It's a totally different culture to go and race for Ferrari, and it's a very intoxicating thing to do. I nearly did it, but didn't do it. The politics in Ferrari are different than any other racing team, I think. And certainly while the old man was arrived, the Commendatore was arrived, it was very political. Michael Schumacher went to Ferrari, he changed Ferrari. Ferrari had to do what he wanted, or he would have left. He wanted Ross Brawn, he wanted Jean Todt, he wanted this, he wanted that, and he got it. But he delivered. He was probably better at that than he was as a driver, building a team of quality people. And I think that Sebastian can do the same thing.
Well, obviously it has been a fantastic day to come here. I mean, I remember I have been here a long time ago as a little child, driving through Maranello and trying to look over the fence. So to be here officially as a part of the team, felt fantastic to have the possibility to drive the car, get to know the team. Yeah, it was a unique experience. Obviously it's a very different color for me. Everybody is dressed in red, everything is red, but it's really something special, and I'm very much looking forward to the challenge that we took on for the next years.
Looking at your Ferrari career so far, Sebastian, it is quite similar to the situation experienced by other multiple world champions Alain Prost and Fernando Alonso. High expectations, title fights, and in the end, frustration for missing out. What do you think is preventing the team from reaching its full potential?
Well, I think first of all you have to obviously say that I think since the day that I joined, we've tried everything together to fight for the championship, which I think is what we've done on several occasions. We did not win the championship, so in that regard, looking back also, you can say that I have failed, we have failed. Obviously, we set out with a clear target that we wanted to achieve, and the truth is that up to this point we didn't. Now we still have this season ahead of us. Given that it's such a strange season, strange start without fans, without people here, I think it's impossible to know exactly what will expect us. So I think it would be too soon to write everything off. But when we're talking about looking back, I think here and there was missing a little bit. I think in the end we were never able to put a package together that was good enough until the end of the year to fight for the championship. We got close until I would say midway, halfway in some years, but then the gap was opening up, and I think we then were defeated quite clearly by Mercedes and Lewis in those years. So in the end, it's quite simple. We were not quick enough, our package wasn't good enough, and as a team we were not as strong as Mercedes.
Hello everyone, this is the Casual Fan. Sebastian Vettel and Scuderia Ferrari, a 4-time world champion and the most successful constructor on the grid. This was a match made in heaven. Yet at the end of the 2020 season, the two entities went their separate ways without even a single championship triumph to talk about. Now, why did this happen? Why was a combination that had so much potential unable to convert it into results? In this video, we try to find out why the Sebastian Vettel-Ferrari combination turned out to be a failure and who really was to blame for it. So, without further ado, let's have a look at why the Ferrari-Vettel combination was such a disappointment. For a team to win the title, it has to beat the defending champions. And at that time, when Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari were trying to win the title, they were doing it against the might of the Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton combination. And this was arguably the biggest reason for their failure, as the combination of Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes was a well-oiled machine. They had the best engine on the grid, and to add to this, the team worked like clockwork. With Niki Lauda and Toto Wolff at the top, there wasn't room for too much drama and everyone knew their role. Hamilton was one of the best drivers on the grid, and he drove a Mercedes that was more or less quicker than the Ferrari Sebastian Vettel had at his disposal. In the rare circumstances where Vettel did have the car as good or better than the Mercedes, even then Hamilton had the backing of an experienced campaigner in Niki Lauda, who was a guiding force for the entire team when things didn't go their way. Vettel, on the other hand, was on his own, as the team just didn't have anyone who he could turn to when things went south. Vettel just could not turn to an experienced campaigner like a Helmut Marko or a Christian Horner like he had at Red Bull, and more often than not, he found himself lost at Ferrari and didn't have anyone to pull him out of the bad circumstances he found himself now and again. Mercedes was more than a worthy adversary that covered all its basics and exposed Ferrari when things would get intense. This was evident in the way Ferrari imploded against the sustained pressure built by Mercedes and Hamilton in the second half of both the 2017 and 2018 seasons. In both those seasons, Mercedes and Ferrari fought valiantly in the first half of the season, but in the second half of the season, Ferrari just dwindled away as Mercedes would stretch its legs and comfortably walk to the title. In many ways, it did look like Ferrari were a bunch of amateurs fighting against seasoned professionals at Mercedes like Niki Lauda, who had been there and done that multiple times. And that was one of the key differences between the two teams. It's not an understatement when we say that the biggest enemy for Ferrari has always been Ferrari. The team has been traditionally a political hot mess, and more often than not, it costs the team on track. This was the case when Sebastian Vettel was part of the team as well. The team was under severe pressure to perform all the time, and because of this pressure, the team would implode more often than not. At the time when Vettel was part of the team, it had the ruthless presence of Sergio Marchionne behind the scenes, demanding results and exerting sometimes unnecessary pressure on the team to perform at a very high level. And then on the other hand, when that was not at the forefront, the Ferrari team principal was more often than not fighting off the internal political battles to keep his seat. The worst example on evidence was in the 2018 season, where Ferrari arguably had its best possible chance to beat Mercedes, but the Italian team would spectacularly implode in the second half of the season, where Maurizio Arrivabene would openly criticize the team technical director Mattia Binotto for the lack of upgrades the team had brought at Suzuka. It was later revealed that Arrivabene and Binotto were involved in an internal power struggle at Ferrari, which would ultimately culminate with Binotto taking Arrivabene's place in 2019 season. What all of this did was completely derail the championship campaign, as Ferrari gave the initiative to Mercedes and the German team never looked back. If the team had a comparatively stable environment, we might have seen Ferrari put together a much better challenge against Mercedes in both the 2017 and 2018 season. But sadly, that was not supposed to be. Ferrari, despite having a capable machinery in the first half of the season, ended up fading away, and gifting the titles to Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel's association with Ferrari was far too emotional for him to ever succeed. He was a Ferrari fan before he even became a Ferrari driver, and it had an adverse effect on his performances. Vettel in many ways is not dissimilar to Michael Schumacher, but where he is different is how both of them went about solving the Ferrari puzzle. Sebastian Vettel went to Ferrari with the idea of trying to win the title by doing whatever he can in an individual capacity, and if there was any place where he could make a difference, he would try his best. So much so that Vettel became the spokesperson for the team. He made it a point to represent himself as the team, and when something went wrong, he was the shield. While this made him popular with the team, it also exposed him to the political side of Ferrari, which is a handful to manage for anyone involved. At the end of the day, Vettel had too much on his plate, while Lewis Hamilton had a singular job of turning up on the track and driving the car as well as he can. As a result, we saw Vettel make errors that he had not made during his stint with Red Bull. The errors like the one at Germany in 2018 or the one at Monza were not common for Vettel during his Red Bull days. And one of the reasons behind it was the fact that the German had too much on his plate at Ferrari. Whereas at Red Bull, Vettel only focused on one thing, and that was driving the best he can and extracting the maximum possible result from the car at his disposal. Now comparing that to Michael Schumacher, and you clearly see why Vettel failed while Michael succeeded. Michael was completely shielded from the Italian press and Ferrari politics by Ross Brawn and Jean Todt, which helped him to do what he did best: drive the wheel off a Formula 1 car. Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel was a combination that was too good to be true. A 4-time world champion joining Ferrari meant that the German was almost destined to rewrite history. But as we have seen so many times in the past, driving with Ferrari is one thing, winning with them is another story. Just ask Fernando Alonso, Alain Prost, Nigel Mansell and so many other F1 legends. Vettel had a dream of emulating his childhood hero Michael Schumacher, but sadly for him, the Ferrari dream is not for everyone. So these are my views on why the Ferrari-Vettel combination failed. I hope you guys liked it. Do let me know in the comment section, and please like, share and subscribe to support this channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.